6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What was your first obsession? Doesn't matter what it is. It can be a movie, video game, sport, whatever. Just something you discovered that for one reason or another just consumed you. For me, it was this big-ass lizard. No, not that one, this one. Hey. Alright, so I was 8 years old sitting in front of my family's movie shelf. Just do your thing. Anyways, I scanned through the movie shelf looking for something to do or watch until something caught my eye. And that thing wasn't I. And that thing was Godzilla. Specifically the 1998 American version, specifically the best representation of Japan's iconic character. Said no one ever. But at the time, I loved this movie. See, I was a big fan of Jurassic Park when I discovered this. So when I found out that there was this big iguana-looking monster that kind of looked like a T-Rex, I was all about it. When I got access to the internet, I decided to search this movie up. I don't know, hoping to find a sequel to this movie or something. But I instead found this. I guess this is my life now. After witnessing the dropkick of the century, I searched the internet for everything Godzilla. I would watch old clips of Godzilla films on my mom's crappy laptop during a time when YouTube looked like this, and YouTube was doing a whole lot of... But it was all worth it because I got to see Godzilla destroy everything in its path, and I was here for it. I don't know what that is, but I'm still here for it. I watch reviews.
Cinemassacre's Monster Madness Godzilla.
I even watched other 10-year-olds review toys.
We have the G-Man himself, Godzilla.
I was so into it that I would waste my mom's ink to print out low-quality pictures of Godzilla. Not just normal black ink, but colored ink, you know, the expensive kind. I'm beginning to understand why my mom didn't want me to waste this. I'd cut them out and slot them in the fold of my binder and proudly show them to my friends. I just loved Godzilla during that time. It was all that I looked forward to. It was all that I cared about. When I looked to the future and tried to envision it, Godzilla was a part of it. It was so fun. While it lasted. At what point did you realize that your obsession wasn't doing enough? At what point did you realize your obsession was actually harming you? The honeymoon phase had long since passed, and now all that was left was a ruthless pursuit of that initial thrill. I remember mindlessly rewatching the same clips on YouTube until the sun went down. I twiddled my thumbs waiting for that one Godzilla toy reviewer to release another video. I rewatched the same Godzilla movies that I owned over and over again, feeling less and less excitement as time went on. My collection was never enough for me. I needed the next Godzilla toy and I needed it now, and when I did get the next, the feeling of euphoria didn't last as long as the first time. This cycle would repeat itself for months, even years. I started my journey with Godzilla at 8, but by the time I was 10, Godzilla and stories like it were essentially my life. And naturally, because I decided to make it my life, others around me started to take notice. and not in a good way. I still remember the day I walked into school with my binder full of Godzilla pictures, being called a dumb little kid for still liking them, which in hindsight was kind of ironic considering the kid was also 10, but I took the pictures out anyways, hoping not to be made fun of again. I started to realize that no one around me really shared the same passion I had for the character, making me feel more and more like an outcast. So I hid my passion, pretending that I wasn't really into it. The other issues in my life, the ones I've been trying to run from this whole time, started attacking me in new and more painful ways. The feeling of uselessness and feeling like I didn't belong began to ravage my mind, and now, instead of numbing the pain like it once did before, my love for the character started to feel like another example of my worthlessness. Only losers liked something as lame as Godzilla. I kept trying to hold on. I kept trying to get lost in the world, Godzilla's world, hoping it would save me, distract me, give me something to look at that wasn't the horrible things in my life, the things I didn't want to think about. But you can only run for so long. You can only hide for so long. And I realized this on a gray and moody Saturday morning. I went to my backyard with my arm full of my Godzilla toys, hoping to play with them to distract myself. It didn't go too well. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't have fun because there were other things on my mind. So when I went back inside, on the way in, I dropped one of my toys. And I remember at the time scoffing because the toy I had dropped was my least favorite. The toy was Hedorah. Hedorah, for those of you who don't know, is this trash monster that Godzilla fought in the 60s. And I didn't like him. I thought he was lame. I thought he was ugly. I thought he was useless. But when I picked him up, I saw his tail had broken, and then there was this rush of emotion and fear and anger, and I ran as fast as I could to my room. I slammed the door behind me and I got on my knees and I kept trying to stick it back together. I kept slamming. But it wouldn't fix itself. It wouldn't go back. And all I remember was just this rush of emotion. I was so angry. I was so sad. I looked out of the window and I cursed everything. I cursed myself. I cursed the people I loved. I cursed all the things that happened to me. I cursed God. It was the first time I said I wanted to kill myself. And unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last. So why am I telling you all of this? Why am I being so deeply personal? I could have just taken the first part of this video and expanded it, give a couple more examples about why I like Godzilla, throw in a couple of fun facts, and then just called it a day. But that's not what the series, the stories that make us, is about. I want to explore why these stories, for whatever reason, have such an impact on us. And I hope by sharing what I've just shared, it helps someone out there who's going through something similar. And selfishly, I hope to better understand it myself. That clip of me pouring my guts out was my first attempt at talking about the life-changing experiences that have shaped me, but in a way where I was in control. Escapism is a useful way to relieve stress and anxiety, but when you make it a way of life is when things start to become dangerous. I had made my life about Godzilla. At the time, it was all that I cared about and all I felt I needed. But if you took me away from that environment, away from my safe space, I was weird and awkward and shy, and I hated myself for being that way. And those feelings would fester inside of me until they exploded, much like how they did when my door broke. If I had stayed in that room, I probably would have killed myself. But I didn't. Duh. That outburst taught me a valuable lesson. I couldn't allow myself to bottle up my emotions in that way anymore. Of course, I didn't learn it right away. After that outburst, I moved to the next cool thing until it wasn't good enough. Rinse and repeat. But as the years went on, I opened up. I made friends. I reconnected with my family. And I started to realize that there's more to life than just, well, Godzilla. All those things I hated about myself. The shyness, the awkwardness, and the weirdness, I think, were all things that I could overcome if I stepped out of my comfort zone and tried to connect to the world outside of my room. Godzilla was not going to help me overcome those insecurities, but only help me forget them. To be clear, I still love Godzilla. I don't want to give the impression that my life would be better off without him. If anything, it's the opposite. If it weren't for Godzilla, I wouldn't have gotten the courage to start this channel and tell my own stories. I probably would have fallen into other more dangerous paths to escape my own suffering, like drugs or crime, paths that people I love still struggle with to this day. I also wouldn't appreciate the value of stories. Stories, if you pay attention to the lessons they wish to share, can help and guide people in ways you wouldn't expect, especially people who feel they have no one to turn to. But now, like with most things, I try to find a balance between exploring my favorite worlds and existing in the real one. I still get lost in the excitement sometimes, just the pure imagination of exploring my favorite stories, Godzilla included. But eventually I know I have to put the phone down, turn the PC off, and go out to the real world to be with the people I love and create memories there. Because the fictional world, whichever one it is you choose to get lost in, is not a supplement for the real one. And that's why I find it so fascinating that Godzilla was my first obsession, because that's what he's all about. Godzilla was first created as a metaphor for nuclear power and its potential devastation. He was an evil omen, but as time passed, he became a hero to the world until today, where he's neither good nor evil, but a reminder to humanity to never let the world fall out of balance again. And it's that lesson I took to better my life in every way. I will always be grateful for Godzilla, for destroying my world, because it gave me the chance to rebuild it.